When you see yourself as someone that's always growing and learning, you don't have this anxiety about that you need to already be at this end road. You're on just a journey in general, and your journey is learning and growing. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy, and today we're going to talk about how to stop feeling like you need to be the perfect person. Now, there's perfectionist, which we talk, like a lot of people have addressed and talk about how to stop being a perfectionist, but I feel like there's a subcategory of perfectionism, which is feeling the need that you have to be a perfect person, like a perfect friend, a perfect wife, a perfect husband, a perfect whatever, daughter, son, whatever. Like there's this perfect worker, whatever it is. There's just feeling that you need to be perfect. This is something I've personally struggled with often in my life, and it's something that I've recently come to like an aha moment of how to be more at peace, so I don't feel like I have to constantly be perfect, especially in the industry of like doing coaching or therapy or whatever. Like there's this harsh expectation that they have to be perfect in order to do their job, but no, we're all just humans trying to navigate through the world. So this is some things that have helped me, and these are some things that I think will help you too. Before we get into today's video, if you are interested in my 11 weeks to break free from the past course, it is linked down below. I talk about shame, guilt, I talk about ego, I talk about the 11 inner child wounds that keep a lot of us stuck and we're unable to move forward. So definitely check it out. And if you're interested in doing one-on-one coaching, also you can contact me in any of my social media, or you can contact me on my website. Link is all down below. So let's first dive into address, where does this need come from? Well, it comes from childhood. It comes from our parents or our caregivers had these unrealistic expectations of us to be a certain person, and we either would get a lot of praise when we were that person, or we get overly criticized when we weren't that person. It can also come if you grew up in a narcissistic environment or any type of abusive environment or chaotic environment where you felt like you had to read your parents' mind in order to feel safe. So if your parent ever gave you silent treatment, or they showed you they were disappointed in you and they wouldn't tell you exactly what was on their mind, that you felt the need that you had to read their mind. So then this, as you get older, if you don't heal these things, you then will do that same thing where you try to read other people's minds, or you try to behave the certain way that your parents or your caregivers had expected and placed onto you, and you most likely have really unrealistic expectations of yourself, and you expect things of yourself that you don't even expect of others. Or you could expect things of yourself and then get angry if others don't do the same things. Now here's the thing we have to understand: being a perfect person is completely subjective. What you may view as perfect not only is because of the things that were molded into you, but that's your own personal journey. The things in your life shaped you to make you view that that's who you should be as this perfect person. Other people will have other expectations of themselves if they feel like they have to be a perfect person, of what is perfect. And remember, again, it's your worldly view, it's your own personal view, the things that have shaped you that have made you think, okay, this is what I need to do in order to be perfect. But if you think about it objectively, what is perfect? What even is normal? There's no real actual objective guidelines about what's perfect or what's normal. So it's completely your entire view of what you believe is normal or perfect or what have you. Now, normally what shapes that view is generally trying to read other people's minds of what you believe other people expect of you, and then you then expect them of yourself. So this all comes down to your beliefs, which is great because then you have something to work with, because you believe that this is what is expected of you, when in reality that's most likely not what expected of you, because you're trying to think for other people rather than what you actually know. And even so, let's say you have people in your life that expect way too much of you that you have a hard time delivering, then those people are most likely not the people that are meant to be in your life. You need people in your life that are understanding, let you be you, and are accepting of you and who you are. Now that doesn't mean there's not room for growth on your end, because absolutely, but there are things that you think are worth growing on rather than what you believe other people expect of you. Another reason why you may try to be perfect and prevent anything is because you may try to prevent intrusive thoughts or feeling bad about yourself. So if you, even though you do naturally on the low feel bad about yourself, it's an upkeep of you feeling like you're taking an action to make sure that you're not being bad. But then if you do feel like you're doing something wrong or bad, then you feel really, really low. But if you feel like you're constantly trying to do something, you feel a little bit better versus not doing anything. Again, another thing that comes from feeling like you need to be perfect is you don't entirely haven't figured out what your view of who you want to be and who you think is the ideal person of what you want to be. What are your expectations of yourself? You've molded yourself into what you believe other people think of you rather than what you truly think. So because of all that, the downside and the worst things about feeling like you need to be a perfect person is there's such burnout. It's exhausting trying to be someone that you think other people expect of you, and it's exhausting feeling like you need to live up to these expectations, and it's so anxiety provoking because you fear what will happen if you don't be this certain person, and you fear getting into maybe some sort of trouble or being punished because that's what you dealt with in childhood, and it leads to depression because you feel worthless if you're not this person, or you never feel good enough. And that's another thing, is that you're basically trying to run away from any type of punishment because you dealt with punishment in childhood, you know, that over criticism or even stonewalling, whatever it is that you dealt with in childhood from your caregiver, your parent. You are trying to prevent that. It's a preventative way, it's a protective mechanism to feel like you need to be perfect, because in childhood you're helpless, and if you can try to prevent your caregiver from distancing themselves from you, you will do whatever it takes. So you still feel like that helpless child in adulthood of trying to make sure that nobody can abandon you, you're making sure everybody's happy and you're good. So that's the thing, is understanding and healing that little inner child in you and knowing that you're not helpless anymore, and you don't need the people around you to not be upset with you or mad at you if you don't live up to their expectations or what you perceive their expectations are, and you're gonna be okay and you're gonna be safe. You don't need these people to be okay, and you don't need them to be happy or content, and it's not your responsibility to take care of their emotions. It's their responsibility. So that's one of the first things to do in order to heal on not feeling like you need to be the perfect person. The next thing is understand that there's different levels of issues people have, and you're not going to just get cut off, or people are not going to not like you because you're not doing certain things. It's also not your job to try to read other people's minds. You don't know. Unless someone communicates it to you, it is not your concern or your business. You're entirely making it up and believing of what they expect of you. So understand there's different levels of issues of people. Like for instance, let's say you're a late person. Eventually that person, your friend, maybe you're late to your friend's lunch often. Your friend eventually is going to bring it up and be like, hey, this really makes me upset. Can you please not be so late? Let them bring that up if that's an issue. I mean, of course, we shouldn't waste people's time and be late, but I'm saying overall, if there's some type of potential issue, let the people in your life bring it up, so that way you can do something about it rather than trying to prevent any issues from happening. Because a relationship is a two-way street. It's not about you trying to cater to them and make sure they're always good. It's also about, you know, you guys providing things for each other. And you know, you'll do things wrong and they'll do things wrong, and you guys talk about it and you address it and you figure it out, and you guys are going to do things right and you're going to be happy with each other. Like, let that natural dynamic happen rather than trying to prevent bad from happening. So like I was saying before, understand that there's different level of, you know, things people will tolerate, and different level of things people will be angry about, and not everything is going to cause them to abandon you or be pissed off at you or, you know, X, Y, and Z. There's certain things that are extreme, like you hurt their mom or something, versus maybe you forgot their birthday. There's different levels of what people will tolerate. And of course, they're gonna tolerate you hurting their mom and not that you missed their birthday. Just kidding. The next thing is embrace your mistakes. You are human, you're going to make mistakes, and that is okay. Mistakes are part of your learning experience, and also you're just a human. Like I always talk about, it's a human experience to make mistakes and to mess up, and that's okay. And we all have to be understanding and compassionate towards one another, that mistakes are gonna happen. So when you make a mistake, be like, oh man, I messed up, oh man, that's so silly. It's not about the mistake you make, it's truly about how you come back from it and how you make amends and accepting the consequences and whatever you can do to make it better. So embrace your negatives, embrace your flaws, embrace the things that you do wrong, and have some compassion for yourself. Don't be so harsh on yourself. Less shaming. We all do things wrong. It's okay for you in the moment to be like, oh yeah, that was messed up, you know, I can do better next time with X, Y, and Z. Like, you definitely want to acknowledge it. You don't want to be delusional and pretend you didn't do anything wrong, but shaming is not helpful. It just keeps you in that place and you don't move forward. You just stay in that negative place. It already happened. You can't go back and fix it. You can only do things moving forward, and you will never move forward if you just sit in it. So acknowledge it and then be compassionate towards yourself. Like, oh yeah, like I know I was like, you know, rushing and I messed up and I you know, got in a little bit of a car accident. I hit a little bit of a pole. I messed up, but you know, I know what I can do better for next time. And the other thing is that it's so important for you on the regular to praise the little achievements you do. Just praise yourself overall. Like, I'm so proud of myself for making this mac and cheese for the family event. Like, that's awesome. I'm really proud of myself. Instead of being like, oh, I made the mac and cheese, but I should have, you know, helped more when I was there. I should have talked to more people. And oh, I noticed that Sally was sad over there and I should have talked. No. Praise yourself for the things that you did rather than shaming yourself for the things that you did not. And also understand they're probably not focusing on you and what you were doing. Most of the time we focus on ourselves. And if people are focusing on you and what they're doing, that's their own prerogative. Let them do whatever they're gonna do. Those people don't matter. Those people are exhausting. The next is set boundaries. Boundaries are so important. Boundaries are fences we put up, and it tells people what we feel comfortable with letting in and what are things that we do not like or we do not want in our, you know, space. And they keep us safe, and they also help to teach people what to expect of us as well, which is really important, because if you teach people what to expect of you, then you won't have to have that stress of like, oh, they want X, Y, and Z from me. No, they already know what to expect of you because you've already put it out there, and they will either accept you for who you are or they will not accept you for who you are, and then those are the people that you don't want in your life. So it truly teaches you about the people that you want to maintain and keep in your life, because you're teaching these people, this is me, take it or leave it. If you want to have a more in-depth video about boundaries, I will leave it right here. The next is figure out what you expect of yourself. What are things that truly matter to you that you want to do? Like I said, for instance, when you go to people's houses, do you like to, you know, maybe offer a hand? Does that make you feel good, or are you just doing it because you have anxiety that the person's gonna be mad at you? When you go to other people's houses, do you have anxiety about touching things or like sitting on their furniture, or, you know, these weird things that maybe your parents have placed on you? If they never said anything to you about that, then you don't need to, you know, worry about it. You can always ask, be like, hey, listen, is it okay if I sit here, you know, what have you? And I'm saying these things because this is how I grew up, like that stress about, you know, not being able to touch things or sit places. So you can ask if that's a concern of yours, but don't immediately have this anxiety that they think that that's what they want. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean to act a fool and be neurotic in people's homes, but I'm saying, you know, you can see what you expect of yourself by talking to other people and seeing, you know, what is kind of the general, like, how do other people feel about certain things, since I grew up in such an extreme home where things were unrealistic. What is kind of the people around me, their norm. Also, when it comes to giving, this is the setting a boundary in yourself. Like, what do you expect of yourself? What do you want to do, and what makes you feel comfortable and happy doing, rather than what you think other people expect of you and what you feel like you have to do. What do you want to do? What feels good? What makes doing something that you genuinely want to do rather than having to do because you're stressed or anxious or worried what's expected of you. The next is focus less on being perfect and focus more on self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, and just general overall making amends. So like we had talked about, who you are, accepting who you are, loving on who you are, and being okay with who you are. And then when you do something wrong, forgiving yourself, giving yourself that self-compassion, and figuring out how to make amends. So instead of thinking like, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z, be truly genuinely who you are. And then when you do make a mistake, because you've accepted that you're a human that makes mistakes and you don't have to be this perfect person, you'll feel more comfortable being able to make amends. You have accepted that there are things in life that you're going to do that are wrong, and it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to do things wrong. That is being a human. And most of us accept that and understand that. And how are you going to make amends? You take accountability, you apologize if you need to, and you say, you know, how can I make it up to you? What can I do? What can I do to get your trust back? What can I do? You know, like, I had a big emotional reaction. What can I do to take the next step forward? So that way I don't keep having these big emotional reactions. There's a lot, people really truly respect when someone owns up to what they did and just apologizes and try to move forward, versus someone who tries to cover it up or just be overly perfect. And then when you try to be overly perfect, when you do make a mistake, you most of the time don't handle it well, because you're denying to yourself that you like made this mistake, or you don't want to admit you made this mistake because it's so hard for you to acknowledge mistakes, that you make mistakes. You'll be overly harsh with yourself, and you may be really defensive to other people because you're truly just shaming yourself so much and your ego's coming up to protect yourself. Or you may hide and run away from people, so you don't handle it well most of the time if you do try to be a perfect person. Or like you're someone who maybe will do too much when you make a mistake, and you'll just like be overly guilty to the point where the person feels like they have to make you feel better, which is another thing that's not healthy. It can go one extreme way or the other. It's either overly shame, where you're hiding and you're trying to avoid it, or you push yourself too much on the other person to get them to make you feel better because of how much guilt you have. So once you are more so able to accept that you make mistakes and you're gonna mess up, it's easier for you to forgive yourself, accept the consequences, and try to make amends. And if you have a hard time with acceptance, you can check out my video, which I will leave right here, which is something that a lot of us can struggle with, is just acceptance in general. And the last thing that I think can help a lot is being a perfect person is like I would say it's like the end result. Like, people are like, oh, I don't think you think this way, but it's like, I already am this thing. I'm trying to achieve being perfect. Like, perfect is like the end all be all, which is unrealistic and can't actually happen. So it's like the end of a road, end of a journey, if you get what I'm saying. Instead of seeing yourself as needing to be at the end of the road and end of the journey of being perfect, see yourself as a human that is always growing and learning. When you see yourself as someone that's always growing and learning, you don't have this anxiety about that you need to already be at this end road. You're on just a journey in general, and your journey is learning and growing and just being a human and just diving into the human experience. Acknowledging that you're a human and overall can feel so relieving, because being a human means that you are someone that at the end of the day does make mistakes and is just living like everybody else, rather than feeling like you have to be this person on this pedestal that's perfect. So healing that inner child and seeing that it's unhealthy for you to live that way, and realize that it's a mindset and the way that you perceive things that truly is stressing you out. And when you just shift it and you live a different type of way, you will see a complete change in your need to feel like you need to be perfect. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. Till next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. Why am I having such brain farts today? I can't think. And those are the things that there's a word I'm like at the tip of my tongue and I can't think of it.